wrong there, or to give.
You asked, should we interrupt? I think that's the worst thing.
Yeah. Because we can provide that other material. There are no rights and wrongs when you are being created.
May I
Can you imagine what happened to Picasso when he was in school and they were asking to draw a picture of a house of Picasso, and somebody said, little Picasso, you really don't know what you're doing. You know, I asked you to draw a picture of the house. What's that?
But then
it's a child's expression. It's their own expression. You know, it could be completely different of your expectations, but it's their expression.
To form the ideas.
Like if you're planning a creativity lesson, the resources over there should be like that. The children will learn by themselves what to do.
It is their choice. There we are giving them the, a kind of liberty to choose and to opt the material, to choose and opt the kind of activity they wanted to have on that particular day. But so actually,
I must say the teacher should know what her objectives are.
Yes.
If your objectives are clear,
that's what I was talking about.
clear.
We have actually, if we are having
But there are three sets.
we have the activities in the class, relevant activities in the class, and it is their choice that which activity they want to have on that particular day. Those activities which have already been set, they are relevant.
Are you talking about differentiated tasks, or are you talking about
Like if you are having a lesson,
carried out?
if you are having a lesson on colors, right? And we have set different activities related to the colors in the class. We are giving freedom to the children to opt to have.
Like it's very from lesson to lesson. It's very from lesson.
It can go to every lesson. You can have relevant activities according to your objectives in the class. You are given an opportunity.
We are not giving them activities. We are giving them resources.
What
And they are free to use as they want.
Would you like to draw a car big enough to get into and go somewhere? And they all said, yeah. And then a girl said, I'm not very good at drawing. I said, well, could you color in? And she said, yes. I said, great. So they did this little project. And I didn't give them any instructions at all. And so it's a great way to do, it's like deck building. So I put a big sheet of paper on the floor, and they just carried on, and then I pulled in there with them, and I said, where are we going? And somebody said, we're going to the land of Never Never. I said, do you know how to get there? He said, we're going to go straight and make a right and a left, and then go around. He was describing how to get there. I did this in new school. And it just sort of snowballed into an emergent curriculum eventually, because they did, the teacher, I forgot her name, she said, we're doing water, David, can we do something about water? Because I'm discussing water with the children. And so I asked, only that. But what the most unique thing was, they all did the water at the same level, which was quite amazing. We were going to construct a ship and go somewhere. Now the next day they decided they need banners on the ship. And he's putting in one of those hand fans. That was the propeller, the motor, the propeller. And this thing just grew and grew. And there was great interaction with the children. That was a rudder. No, that was the anchor, I'm sorry. This is without a teacher telling him to do anything. Now this is when I went into the next class to show them what the previous class had done. And we took it outside into the courtyard so the whole school could play with it. And now I remember what I heard that voice before. We're going out of that. No, you don't want to see this. This is TNS training. No problems. Only solutions. Yeah, now, you know, like here I asked, what is that? He said, it's a porthole. I said, oh, brilliant. You know, the most rewarding thing is they did this all on their own. They had I didn't give them any example. I said, would you like to build a ship? Or we can go away somewhere. And I let go of it. So I did was stay there, the scaffold. And when it was time for a lunch break, Susan and I picked up this paper and attached it with tape to bamboo sticks that we just taped to the chairs. And unfortunately, I didn't organize this because I didn't expect to present it, but it later became a submarine because they covered it. They got wallpaper and covered it. And then the following week, they made an airplane out of it by constructing. It was just, you know, brilliant. That picture you saw of me standing around with 3 boys, and it was photographs of the documentation of building that. So I said, so if we were going to build something, and I took that away, and I put down on the table a large white piece of paper, and in the center I wrote den. I said, what kind of den would you like? And I said, House of Horrors. So I drew a line out, creating a mind map, and wrote House of Horrors. He said, what about you? And he said, Ship of the Dead. I said, go on. And then I stepped back. So I sort of like, it was an adult-initiated thing, but I stepped back and let them take it over. And before long, they had written all over this paper, and one of them started to construct a play about the House of the Dead, and he started coloring in things. And the teacher had told me previously, they won't color because they think color's for girls, so these boys, I can't get them to color anything. And it just turned out to be so much learning. So they decided to make this House of the Dead. I said, now, we took that other ship and we brought it outside. Do you want to take the House of the Dead outside for everybody to share with when you're finished? And they said, yes. I said, brilliant. But to do that, we have to know how tall and wide the door is, because if we make a house bigger than the door, we can't take it outside, can we? No. So how do we do that, Cha-Cha? I said, well, I have to have a tape measure in my pocket. Because for some reason, I can figure out what's going to happen. So we went over and they measured it 88 by 55 inches. I said, unfortunately, we can't walk around saying the door is 88 by 55. We have to transfer that into feet. Does anybody know how many inches are in the foot? Somebody said 12. I said, great. So how many times does 12 go in? So for half an hour, it only took them a half an hour. On their own, they figured out feet and inches. So I thought, well, why not? This is a great way to get them to learn. Why not explore this a little further? We need a door for the house. Yes? Yes. So who's the tallest person in the room that's going to go into the house? You are. I said, okay, somebody's got to go measure me. So put a ruler on my head. And then they measured it from the floor to there. I said, what's the next tallest? So we measured everybody. And somebody said, what about without shoes? We said, that's a good idea. So we took all these different, we took names and height, and I made them sit down and do it in feet and inches. Now, because it was a tool, it was something they needed to know. If you approach a class of 30 or 40 children, say, I'm going to teach you division today. Can you tell me how many times 12 goes into 64? What? I mean, what does it mean? It doesn't really mean anything. Why would I want to know that? It's not really important, but to you as a teacher, you've got to teach them. There's a better way to do it, isn't there? I think, you know, here comes project learning. becomes play. You know? So how do you tie in curriculum into doing things like that with children? It's very easy. The answer is you have to be creative. And to be creative is to step out of your mind and find another way. You know, how can I fulfill? How can I check all these things off? Did the children learn maths today? Well, they certainly did. And they learned it in great depth. And they'll never forget it for the rest of their lives. I mean, I learned. I didn't learn maths. I didn't learn maths, but I became very good at it in business. The first business I was in was the apparel business, where I sold as a manufacturer to various department stores throughout the country. I sold sweater skirts, and it was a whole coordinated line of clothing. People bought things by the dozen or half dozen. They were small, medium, large, and they were size 6, 8, 10, 12. So all of a sudden, I could add up dozens. You know, I could 12, 24, 36, 48. And I didn't even think anymore. The answers just came up. I applying that used to patterns. Then years later, I worked for a market vegetable stand. And everything ended at 9. So when I got interviewed, he wrote down, he said to me, write this down, 69, 119, 49, 18. Add it up. And I went, you're too slow, Bradley, we can't use it. I said, well, listen, I'm very into 12, I'm not into 9. I know there's 9s here. It won't take me too long before it becomes magic to me, auto magic. And before long, there I was, working in a fruit stand, and somebody would come by from IBM, and IBM would come by, and we would really be busy, and I'd go, $8.76. You couldn't have done that so quickly. I said, listen, if it's wrong, come back, we'll give you metro allowance. But it's right. Or they would take out a computer, and I said, don't be silly, you gotta press buttons. I got them in my head, I don't have to press any buttons. So, you know, when you do things because you need to do them, and they're a tool, you learn it. But if you offer children or people an abstract that they can't relate to, what am I going to do with this? So, if you can get creative in your teaching by stepping out and finding another approach, you know, you can look at painting and see that there are ways to get learning outcomes that will fulfill the curriculum that you're supposed to teach. Same thing with that, you know, because you've got knowledge of the world going on there. You have social development because of the interaction. And then just a lot to do. It's a matter of learning to observe children's learning rather than looking at this is what they have to learn today, because they're learning anyhow all the time. And I think you can tell I'm very passionate about that type of teaching versus ticking things off. So I think we went in great depth about the question about creativity. Should you stop the child if they're not doing it the way you want them to do it? Because I think the child that's doing something different can teach everybody else something